And now for our next news special report.
Buckle up, America. The electric vehicle revolution is sputtering out, and you won't believe what's coming next. Nearly half of EV owners are now regretting their purchases, ready to ditch their battery-powered rides for good old gasoline. But why? What's causing this massive U-turn in the auto industry? And how will it affect you, whether you own an EV or not? So stay tuned for our explosive special report, and trust me, you don't want to miss our final thought on this shocking development. And just as EV owners are facing a crisis of confidence, our channel stands at a critical crossroads. For over a decade, we have been your reliable source of truth, but now we are running on empty. YouTube has cut our power, leaving us demonetized for over 16 months now. Like those EVs struggling to find charging stations, we are searching for support to keep our mission alive. The upcoming election isn't just a political contest, it's a battle for America's future. And your support is our fuel. Whether through donation, prayer, or sharing our message, every action recharges our efforts. Help us stay on the road to truth. Visit the links below to power our journey. Together, we'll keep driving towards a free and informed America. Now, the electric vehicle industry is facing a shocking reversal of fortune. A new report from consulting giant McKinsey & Co. has revealed a startling truth. 46% of Americans who bought an electric vehicle now regret that decision. That's right, nearly half of EV owners are planning to switch back to gas-powered cars for their next purchase. Now, this is not just a small bump in the road, it's a major pileup that's forcing us to rethink the future of transportation. The reasons behind the mass exodus, well, they're as numerous as the promises made by EV manufacturers. Let's watch this report from News Nation, and you decide.
Call it buyer's remorse or a surprise reversal in ideology, but the electric vehicle industry seems to be stalling in America. According to new data released by McKinsey & Company, 46% of current electric vehicle owners in the U.S. say they plan to ditch electric and switch back to gas in their next vehicle. This surprising reversal has a lot to do with overall accessibility. 35% saying there are just not enough charging stations. 34% say it costs too much. And 32% of EV owners say their vehicles deeply impact their ability to drive long distances. To break this down more, let's welcome in Brian Moody, executive editor at autotrader.com. Brian, thanks for being here on this. This surprised me. Sure. 46% of EV owners saying that it hasn't been worth it after all. Is owning one right now, not in the future, not 5 years from now, but right now, too much of a hassle?
For some people it is. We know that the EV ownership in places like California is much higher, as high as 25%. In other places like Wisconsin, it's less than 1%. So it really depends on where you live. But I think the main driver of this is that an electric car adds a complexity to your daily life that I think most people are trying to eliminate. They're not trying to make their lives more complicated. They're trying to make things more simple.
There was another surprising finding, more than 30% saying they are neutral on an EV's environmental impact. And then another 20% say they think EVs are actually worse for the environment. Why is the nation so split on this issue?
Well, I think because what you have with electric cars is you have a rush to get something new for a lot of people. So we would call those early adopters, right? Like they just want the newest, latest thing. Then when a little bit more research comes out, some people are not so certain about where does the energy come from? Can we support that? What about the whole process of mining the batteries and disposing of the batteries? I think you said it best at the beginning, which is that sometimes when you buy something based on ideology, it doesn't always work out the way that you had anticipated. That's a good thing. We know that people are considering the environment when they make their next purchase. We did our own survey and they found that people, about half, are looking about the environment when they make their next purchase. For a lot of people, a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid is probably better.
You know, a lot of people turn to EV because it allows them to dodge gas prices and gas taxes as well. This is so interesting to me. You mentioned California before. That state exploring a new tax system that would charge drivers based on mileage instead. A lot of EV drivers not going to be happy about this. Do you think we're going to see more of this maybe in other states as well?
Yes. If you want to see some real creativity, you leave it to governments to say, we've got to come up with some creative ideas to, pump up the tax base. The tax system, in many cases, the road tax, is based on gasoline purchases. So this may be something that they didn't see coming. If you don't buy gasoline, you're not paying the tax that goes to repair the roads. And by the way, most electric cars are heavier than gasoline-powered cars, so it's possible they're doing more damage to the road with each trip.
Now, critics of the pilot tax system in California say that a tax on mileage instead of gas disproportionately affects people who have to commute in long distances to work, who maybe already are priced out. They can't afford living in the city center. Brian, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true, but you would have seen that with gasoline too. The more gas you bought, the more it was going to cost you in taxes. I think a lot of times these initiatives are not taking middle class or working class people into consideration. They ought to, but they're not really doing that. They're trying to get something started. And one of the facts in the survey was that the prices are too high. That will come down. But as we are right now, it's difficult for most people to swing the cost of an electric car.
Brian Moody, a lot to talk about, but appreciate your time today.
So as you can see, the reality of EV ownership isn't living up to the hype. Drivers are facing a severe lack of charging stations, leaving them stranded and frustrated. The much-touted long ranges are falling short, especially in extreme weather conditions, and let's not forget the eye-watering purchase and maintenance costs that are draining bank accounts faster than these cars can charge. But wait, there's more. States across the country are adding insult to injury by introducing per-mile taxes on electric vehicles. It's like being sold a dream home, only to find out you have to pay extra for breathing the air inside. And Philip Kampshoff, the leader of McKinsey's Center for Future Mobility, admits that he's shocked by these findings. He thought, quote, once an EV buyer, always an EV buyer. Well, Philip, it looks like the American people have other ideas. Now, this isn't just a U.S. problem either. Globally, a third of nearly 40,000 people surveyed said that they regret their EV purchase, but here in America, we're leading the charge back to gas-powered vehicles. The EV industry, once the darling of Wall Street and Washington, is now on life support. We're seeing manufacturers declare bankruptcy, executives being sentenced to federal prison for lying to investors, and companies scrapping their ambitious EV plans left and right. Remember all those rosy projections about an all-electric future? Well, they're going up in smoke faster than a poorly maintained engine. And the Biden administration and Democrats, well, they've been pushing EVs as the solution to all our transportation woes. But as the survey shows, the American people aren't buying it anymore, literally. Quality issues, subpar performance, and a general feeling of being sold a bill of goods are driving this mass return to gas-powered vehicles. It turns out that the tried and true internal combustion engine isn't ready to be relegated to the scrap heap of history just yet. This shift in consumer sentiment isn't just about cars. It's a wake-up call for politicians and industry leaders who've been forcing their green agenda on the American people without considering the real-world implications. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. The EV debacle isn't just about cars. It's about freedom of choice and the dangers of government overreach. Americans are rejecting the forced march towards electric vehicles, demanding reliable transportation that fits their needs and budgets. This consumer revolt sends a clear message. We won't be bullied into buying products that don't work for us. It's time for Washington to hit the brakes on the EV mandates and let the free market drive innovation. The American people have spoken, and they are choosing to gas up and not plug in.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now keep up your quest for truth with this next news report. And if you found our channel enlightening, join the millions who agree with you. Tap subscribe. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.